151 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host tonight, Tommy Nanny, bringing your extra pack show. Should be another one under an hour. Let me go around who we have. We got Jason Saylor.
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Jason, what is up? Got Jimmy the Chalk.
Friday night again. Let's keep it short.
Friday night, same crew. So on tap tonight, we're going to discuss a little Phillies after the first full week now and leading into an exciting Dodger series. And then we have two prep races for the Kentucky Derby, the Santa Anita Derby and the Bluegrass Stakes, which I believe Bluegrass got moved to Tuesday. Chalky, is that correct? Is that storms and all that's going on over there?
Yeah, so Friday and Saturday, I didn't see what they actually rate, but Kentucky was getting a ton of rain. So the Friday and Saturday cards moved to Monday, Tuesday. Sunday, I think, is still running as scheduled for Keelan.
Yeah, so we will cover both races. So Santa Anita Derby is Saturday, of course, and then the Bluegrass will be Tuesday. So keep that in mind. But before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Giovannina's Pizza. You tried the rest. Now try the best. All right, let's just jump into it. Now, I've been, before we jump into Phillies, I just wanted to get a quick thought because I feel like it's been the talk for the last 2 weeks when I listen to kind of podcasts and talk radio is the Tush push with the NFL. So just a quick thought, Jason, on not the play itself, who cares, but like just all the hoopla going around, the band, the tabling, the event. What's your thoughts there? And then we'll go to Chalk.
I mean, honestly, I could see arguments both ways. Like, I don't particularly think it's a good, exciting play when I see it. But then again, if it's part of the rules and just because one team.
Yeah, has there been precedence for like a non, something to get banned that was like because for like not pace of play, but like I guess like the holding penalties on the defense when it comes to wide receivers, like I guess just to make the more entertaining would be the argument on that.
Yeah. I guess. Like I said, I see it both ways. I don't think it's a great football play, but I also don't think it's fair just because one team's really good at it to want to ban it.
So the way the NFL went about it is probably the mistake where they're using injuries that is not actually true.
Yeah, I don't think that's a play that has injuries. I mean, it's basically a rugby scrum, pretty much, where it's not like there's, big collisions or anything. So I don't buy that. I mean, if you ask me, would I rather see it come out of the game or not? Again, I mean, maybe 51-49, just because I think it's a boring play. Like, it's just not really a football play, even though I guess it kind of is. But I don't feel strongly either way, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. Chalky, quickly.
I mean, I think my thoughts not super strong, but because the Eagles are so good at it, I don't want to see it go. But I mean, until 2005 or something, was it? It technically was an illegal play, and then they made it legal. So to ban it now would be reinstating an old rule 20 years down the line. So
that gets into. I mean, you don't know if they're going to ban the ability to push a player once like 5 seconds after this, whatever the case may.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys that'll drag people into the end zone now, which is assisting.
I mean, they've gotten a little carried away with that pushing and carrying.
I don't interrupt you, Chalky. I'll talk at you again.
No, I mean, what annoys me the most is that it keeps coming. The stated reason, as you said, Tom, is like injuries. There are 0 proven injuries or attributed injuries to that play, and the Eagles have been running it for 3 years now. So it's happened a lot. So if you're going to say, well, we might have an injury down the line, there's a lot of things that could happen. So I mean, you have no statistical evidence to prove your reasoning. So to me, it just strikes as sour grapes that like one team obviously does it really well and every other team could learn how to do it, but they can't do it as well. I don't think it's going to hurt the Eagles as much as people think, because instead of converting at 98%, they'll probably still convert that play 85%. Now, of course, if it's 4th and 1 with the game on the line, yeah, that one conversion, but they're built on the line and with a player like Hurts to still make most of those plays anyway. But basically, I think really the injury thing is like going back to the championship game where the linebacker on Washington kept jumping over the line. Well, he might get hurt. Well, he shouldn't be jumping So you're going to do it just because somebody keeps taking a penalty on every play?
Yeah.
Like, that's dumb.
I mean, I think the league wants it out, obviously, by tabling it. That's how it. And just like, I mean, it's exactly politics. Like when they're trying to pass a bill or whatever, like the league went to, look, they can't go to the Eagles because the Eagles are definitely not going to be. So who do they go to? They go to the team that runs it the second most in the Bills, who may have already been like kind of not really wanting Allen to run, whatever. And they get McDermott to kind of be this poster child outside of LaFleur who raised it to like say, we don't, it's injuries, this, and they don't care if it makes sense or not. They're just getting it out there. And now they're going to debate it. And so, I think that all a ploy from the beginning.
Let me ask you this. Is it technically illegal? So say a receiver catches the ball and we're running back's running and his progress is pretty much stopped. And then here comes offensive lineman to push it from the back. Is that legal?
No, that's legal.
That's
as
legal,
long as
yeah.
the
Yeah.
If you pull out this push, then you also have to ban that too.
They would have to, unless they instill like a time, like, hey, you can't push a second after a snap. Which
Yeah,
can be
like I don't think linemen should be
Or
able
is it like multiple people? So like, if there's two people in the backfield and they're pushing Hurts, like that's illegal. But if it's just one guy,
it
like,
gets
I don't
dicey
know,
because
you
too,
know.
then you could argue because remember they tried to enforce like the offsides on it a little more or whatever. So now they enforce like the forward progress rule, like they blow the whistle quicker because a lot of times like Hurts would, not just Hurts, but all of them, they go and they kind of wait for the push, so their forward progress is almost stopped.
Yeah.
So if they blow the whistle and say it's stop, but now you get into that funky area with, like you said, Jason, with what happens when it's a receiver and his foot, like how quickly do you stop?
But even on non-tush push plays like QB sneaks, like they're very liberal with forward progress. Like you could keep churning your feet and eventually get through. Like they don't blow the whistle short.
Progress. I mean, I don't know what else you could do, but like I've seen so many players forward progress stopped, and they get pushed by a lineman and they pick up 4 yards. However, you hit a guy and you push him back 4 or 5 yards, they still get the ball at where you touched them first. So it's like, again, every rule is pro offense.
What they need to do is it's 2025 now. You have chips, you have AI. There should be a chip in the ball that when the whistle's blown, wherever the ball was when the whistle's blown is that's where the ball is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, well, that's part of it too, because the Allen play with the push, they didn't.
Yeah, you don't know when the ball gets moved after, when you're in the bottom of a pile like that and all. I mean,
I think they just want to get it. It's more just like, I mean, people want to say it's against the Eagles. I think it's just.
I think you're right. The league doesn't like it. I mean, it was going to be a 16-16 vote. It sounded like, and the league tabled it. Like if
they want.
They didn't care, they would let the vote go.
But it isn't. I don't think it's because the Eagles dominated. It's because I don't think the league likes to play in general. Where others, Eagles are just happen to be.
No, it's not. It's not singling out the Eagles because they don't like the Eagles. No, it's just Eagles happen to do it better than anybody else.
Well, I was just talked about lots. I figured throw it out there. It's a quick show. Get some opinions on it. All right, let's move on to your fighting Phils, who have opened the season up 4-1, and they are
5-1.
5-1. Yeah, they won. They swept the Colorado 5-1, and they're playing. I mean, one of the bigger series that we've seen early in April, outside of like maybe opening against the Braves one year to start the season, but obviously doesn't indicate the rest of the season. But it's again, it's a big game. I mean, the Dodgers are 8-0 going into the series. They look.
I can't watch because I don't have Apple TV.
It was not start, but yes, agreed. I can't watch it as I'm doing this podcast because the biggest game of the year is on Apple TV with,
there are 60 million ways to get free months of Apple TV.
Well, yeah, but what happens when it's a commercial and I want to change the channel? Can't.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Well, you're recording the podcast. I'm watching all these wonderful commercials now as we talk.
Yeah, but I'm saying when I'm done my podcast, and I want to flip over to Ovechkin breaking the scoring record when he gets a hat trick tonight. I can't.
That's why I need 2 televisions.
It would take me 10 minutes. I'd log off and log back. It's stupid. I'm not going to get it.
Okay, you got it.
But, and again, if it's your local team, you should have a local ability to watch it on a local channel. But regardless, Phillies are 5-1, and the Dodgers are an incredible 8-0. However, the Dodgers are only 1 game up in their division because San Diego. Did they lose last week? Or
they lost today.
They did. Okay.
That's right. It did lose.
No, pretty crazy.
So Dodgers are the last undefeated team in the league right now.
Pretty wild. So Jason, thoughts early in the season for the Fightins, and then let's just give your thoughts early in the season before you jump to the series itself.
Yeah, it's cool. We almost had our 162-0 to be on the line, but guess who ruined it? We'll get to him in a second. But like you said, they're 5-1 after 6 games. Not really much to complain about. They beat I think a decent team in the Nationals, and then a AAA team in Colorado. So, but a little concerning that they start slow in every game. Like they don't hit any starters. It's basically they get shut down by the starters, and then they jump on the relievers that come in. Yesterday, I couldn't believe that Thompson did not play Sosa. I mean, he's like the hottest hitter in the National League. Get him in the lineup somewhere. I don't care. So if it's got to be for Scotty,
he still caters to the veterans and guys that
it's unbelievable. Like get him in the lineup.
I don't agree either.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like Aaron Nola, to me, he's the 4th best pitcher in the rotation. I mean, flat out, like Wheeler, Luzardo, and Sanchez are all better than Nola. Flat out. So, and I can't imagine what that contract's going to look like in 2 or 3 years. That is just going to get worse. Still don't think Alvarado's a closer. You get into that, but that's it. And we could talk about the Dodgers later.
Yeah, Chuck, quick thoughts to open up the first week?
Yeah, I mean, the starters have given up 10 runs total in 6 games. Well, 7 if you want to include tonight, they'll probably just jinxed it. And 5 of them came from Nola. So, 5 runs over the other 7 games, that's pretty good. There's 6 games. They got a run tonight in the first inning, but that was a little bit more on the defensive mistakes on the Dodgers third baseman Rojas. But hey, a run is a run. But yeah, not scoring early is concerning. It's early in the season, but you can't. It's not going to be sustainable to have your starters keep everybody under wraps, and then you're going to put up 6 runs in the 6th and 7th innings every game. So, they got a lot of guys on base yesterday that were left. I think they had like 12 or 13 guys left on base or something like that. So, yeah, Alvarado showed his other side yesterday, but I guess that's a trade-off for getting 6 really good innings from Taiwan Walker. So who knows how long that'll go. But, Alvarado pushed through a ride in the 9th. But, I mean, 5-1 is what their record should be. I mean, you shouldn't necessarily expect a sweep in Washington because they're an up-and-coming team. But 2 out of 3 in their park is fine. And you should sweep the Rockies because they're, between them and the Marlins, they're the worst 2 teams in the National League. So, 5-1 is where they should be, and this will be their first measuring stick of the year.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, not to be another boomer, but I just haven't seen a lot of the games because they all come on at 4:00 in the afternoon, and they played one night games, and I have a job. So I've not seen that much baseball for the first week. Because
the first week baseball's annoying because they it off and then
it's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I saw bits and pieces of it. But the bits and pieces that I did see, I still don't like Alec Bohm. I'm sorry. He mopes around after every I can't, like you said, Sosa should have been playing for Bohm last night. That's who he should have been playing for.
Oh, really?
And he won't do it. So I mean, I still would like to see Bohm moves at some point. I just don't think he's the guy. I like dropping JT in the lineup, and it was productive, like we talked about on last week's podcast. So I did like that. A little tough to watch when they had bases loaded and you get 3 straight strikeouts between your what is it, 2, 3, 4 hitters or 3, 4, 5. So I mean, and then Nola giving up those, you just kind of know he goes 3 innings. And the 4 or 5 come and he gives up that home run ball. He gives up the second. Yeah, it's the same Nola, like Jason said. So, come playoff time, they better not be afraid if he continues this way. Not be afraid to make him the 4th guy. Your 4th guy to pitch in the playoffs. So, I mean, we shall see. But
I mean, he's a hell of a fourth guy to have from just a rotation standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
His contract is obviously what's going to be the issue, as Jason said. Now you'll have, Sanchez is signed for a couple years. Luzardo's still young with a couple years. Your hope Painter is going to be in the top 3 or 4 on cheap deal for a year, and Wheeler's only going to have so many left. So hopefully, when that Nola contract really starts to hurt, you'll have some of these other guys on cheaper deals to offset it. But that's going to be a pain, if he's giving you what he's giving you now.
Yeah, one thing I'm glad you just brought up real quick too is I don't know if he's underrated at this point, but I mean Wheeler is just unbelievable. He just goes out every day, every 5 days or whatever, and just gives you like a great start. And you're almost surprised when he struggles a little bit or he lets up a run. I mean, it truly is unbelievable.
He's up there with really for me.
Yeah, we started to get
Halliday and Schilling. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you go back to Carlton, but I mean that was 40 years ago, but 45 years ago. But
and Wheeler has done in the playoffs as well as to this point. So it's not like you can't say it was just.
And I mean, as great as Doc was, Doc won the Cy Young. Doc did it for 2 years before that. His career went down the.
you only give
years.
Yeah,
And this is 5 years for Wheeler now. So, or into the 5th or 6th year, whatever it is. So, he's done it for longer, if not quite as good as Doc, but really good for an extended period of time.
and nobody loved Halliday more than me, but I don't know. And there were 2 dominant years. I mean, 2010 was one of the best years I've ever seen of a pitcher. But I mean, to retire his number and all.
I don't think they do.
Like trash.
Yes, I don't think they do it if he doesn't die. He goes in the Wall of Fame, and they have a thing where if you go in the Hall of Fame, they'll retire your number, but he didn't have enough years to really earn
Yeah,
it,
I think it was the tragedy.
Yeah.
Now I will say
the fact that his wife did. They did put the 2 hats on him, right? So he's got a Phillies hat on the thing. So I guess they feel obligated at that point, but
I still could say though, that game he pitched where he had the hamstring or the groin or whatever, and only threw breaking pitches. If you remember that game where he couldn't throw the fastball, so he could only throw off-speed pitches.
I sort of remember. I did.
And he pitched like 7 or 8 innings of shutout. I think it was an important game. I want to say I can't remember that part, but Chalky could probably Google search it real quick. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean,
for me, he throws a perfect game, and then he actually pitches a better game in the game where he perfect game. He was better in that game, and he got pinched. Should have been
he got squeezed,
on
the walk.
Or that would have been another perfect game.
Yeah, he was unhittable. That no-hitter game he was unhittable.
He was way better in that game than he was in the perfect game.
So how they gutted out a groin injury in Game 5 of the 2010 NLCS to defeat.
Yes, thought it was an important game.
Tim Lincecum. Yep.
That's just insane. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jason, you last week we did the pod after the the season opener, and you had bullpen concerns. Romano kind of looked shaky. So that was part of it. Now we played 5 more games. We talked a little bit about Alvarado. What's your thoughts there on the bullpen, and do you already make the change to closer? Do you solidify somebody like a Kirkring? Or are you still festival?
I just don't think Alvarado is a closer. He's too wild. To bring him in, to me, he's a 7th or 8th inning guy, and he's very good. When he's on, he's unhittable. But you saw what happened yesterday. He's not a closer. To me, let's get Kirkring. Let's get him in there from now. Make him the closer from now.
Right.
Romano, however you say his name is.
Romano.
Romano. Yeah. He's all right. He's good. I probably would even prefer him to be the closer over Alvarado at this point. But I think get Kirkring in there now. Get him in there now. See what he can do now. There's not a lot of pressure in April. See if he can close games.
Yeah, I mean the worst thing a closer could do is come in and walk the leadoff hitter, and
that's Alvarado.
Right. Your percentage with Alvarado is definitely higher than any other guy on their staff to do that. So I agree. I mean, he seems like the perfect eighth inning guy. He really.
But absolutely, yep.
Chalky, any thoughts around on the bullpen or?
I mean, there's been some heart racing moments, but other than game one where they blew the lead, and I guess they gave up a couple runs in the game that Nola pitched and lost. Right, Hernandez has like a 20-something ERA, but other than that, I mean, they've been pretty solid. So,
Ruiz is kind of a little bit of this.
Yeah, but those are your guys. Like, I mean, if you get 6 out of your starters, it's Kirk, Greenlee, Strom, Romano, Alvarado. Like, those are your 4 guys. So if you're using those other guys, it's either you didn't get a good start out of your starter, or you're up so much that you're just getting guys to get reps. So I'd love for them to be, have a 1.5 ERA, but they're not coming in unless it's an extra inning game in real crucial situations either, for the most part.
Yeah, look, and listen, bullpen is like, they're finicky people. Like, you've seen first half of seasons where bullpen guys are, the staff and the bullpen in general, and then they get it together and go into the playoffs. So, I mean, the Phillies got to get hot with the bullpen, ride and close. That's more than likely a position that they strengthen at the trade deadline, right? If they're making a serious run. So, I mean, early in April and May, it's just get through. Don't blow. I mean, blowing games is a problem. You got to win the game you're supposed to win. So that definitely can, and they haven't yet. So it's things like that with the bullpen. Any thoughts around the league? First impressions around the league? I mean, the Braves, obviously winning tonight, but 0-7. You saw the stat where no team's ever made it playoffs 7-7. Like, is that a real thing, or is it April and it's first week of the season?
For the Braves, I mean, I think it's first week. I mean, you played the Padres and the Dodgers, who they're undefeated because they beat the Braves, but they're the 2 teams going into today that hadn't lost a game yet. So they swept their other series as well as defeating the Braves. So, it's not a hole you want to be in, but I wouldn't. And again, we saw this with them before. Last time Acuna didn't start the season healthy, they got down, was it 10 games or more to the Mets at some point early in the year, and they came back and won the division. So I don't think this team is as good as we talked about in our preseason preview. But they're definitely still a wild card contender at the very least.
Yeah, they had Profar too. They didn't get the PEG back.
Profar got 80 games, who was going to be a big help until Acuna came back. So that hurts him too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the same as Chalky, where I think Meeker was the only one to pick them to win the division, and I said they don't have Strider and they don't have Acuna for the first month of the year. I think they're being overrated now. Or, should they be 0-7? They just played the juggernaut and what's turning out to be one of the other best teams in baseball. So,
and the Dodgers did a walk-off on them one of the games. So it's not like
yeah. So you give them a little slack there, but they're struggling. I mean, they're not hitting. They lost Lopez, too. They lost one of their other pitchers. So now their rotation, unless, hopefully Strider, or hopefully for me, I have Strider. But if Strider comes back soon, then they'll have a solid 3 with Strider, Sale, and Schwellenbach. But I think this division's the Phillies. I don't like the Mets. I don't like the pitching staff, and the Braves are, as we said, the Braves are good, but not in the Phillies level.
And one thing we actually said in the previous show was a big part of it too is the Phillies have the first. I mean, again, it's the first 2 series. They have a weak first 2 series, and the Braves have a tougher series, and their guys, the Kunas and the Strider, where they can get in a hole that is hard. I know it's but it's hard sometimes to dig out of a hole like that in April, and the season just kind of gets away from you, and it happens. And I mean, we see right now. Now, obviously, it changed quick, but
you're 0-7. Even if you go 8-2 in your next 10 games, you're 8-9. You know what I mean? You're like,
and you now are relying on teams in front of you for the whole season to take steps back at certain points too. If you play a certain level and that team plays the same level, you're still behind that team. Now you got to play them, but it's definitely a big hole. I mean, there's a reason why teams that start on 7 don't make the playoffs. It's also because they stink, and that's probably why they're on 7.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it as well. But yeah. All right. Any other thoughts? The Phillies Dodger series. Like you said, it might be the biggest series early in April that the Phillies have had. Obviously, you use it as a litmus test, but is it really? I mean, Freeman's not playing. The teams aren't really what they are for sure. But it means something, and you got to talk about something. So, Jason, the Phillies Dodgers. What are you looking for out of this series?
If you look at the pitching matchups, it's tonight's Lazaro and Yamamoto. I think Yamamoto, right, Choking?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow night's Nola and Sasaki, so we don't know what's going to happen there. And then you get Sanchez and Glass now. So there's 3 pretty good pitching matchups. Let's win 2 out of 3. Right? Win the series. Win another series. Keep winning series. And especially this one, right? Listen, you take 2 out of 3 here against the Dodgers, it puts something in the back of their minds for later on.
Well, didn't they win like 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 last year or something? The Phillies didn't.
The Dodgers, they took 5 out of. They swept them here and took 2 out of 3 in LA.
Yeah, so they had a history against them, which they didn't have to face them in the playoffs, but it could, like Jason said, put something in their mind. Chalky, what are you looking for in this series?
I mean, 2 out of 3 would be great. I mean, I'm fine with if you don't want to see them get swept, but if they lose 3 games 3-2 and they're competitive and the pitching looks good, it's just they get a home, they lose a game late or it's just a bounce doesn't go their way. I mean, I'll feel pretty good. What you don't want is to lose like 10-3 every game and like your starters get shelled and somebody gets hurt, something like that this early in the year. You don't want to have to deal with that, but just a competitive series to kind of reassure that they could be on the same level because their level of competition has not been the same that the Dodgers have played. So this is the first real challenge, and so it'll be good to see them stay competitive against better teams.
All right. Why don't we move on to the Derby prep races here. And we'll start with the Santa Anita Derby since that is Saturday. And if I'm looking, it's a 4:30 Pacific, so 7:30 here on the East Coast. It comes as race 10, mile 8, Santa Anita Derby. Similar to what you seen in California, 5-horse race with 3 right? Is it 3 trainers? Baffert has 2, Sheriff has 2, and then McCarthy has what looks like the favorite right now. So, Jason, you want to take us to start? Oh, actually, before we covered the Santa Anita Derby, the last Derby prep race we covered was it last week now? I don't even remember. Was the Florida Derby. Florida Derby. And not to toot our own horn, but the 3 on the panel here gave you the winner of the race, which I think went off at 2-1. I don't remember the exact thing. It was 2-1.
Yeah, it was like 7-2 going in the gate and ended up like 2-1.
2-1 to
second choice.
Probably
but...
second choice. Second choice. Kind of gave you the exacta and trifecta in many ways, as we even gave you the race shape where we said that the favorite could come up and just not have enough. It's basically everything we said. So if you did follow Broad Street Hustle for the Florida Derby, you came out ahead. Not always.
Louisiana Derby too, I think we did pretty well. Then we did well in the Louisiana Derby too, I think.
Yeah.
We didn't handicap the Louisiana Derby.
Fountain
of Youth. Yeah.
Yeah, Fountain of Youth. Right. Where we gave out a couple, like 2 horses, and we'll
see how we do outside of Florida now.
Yeah, maybe it's just a Gulfstream bias.
Yeah, so now we are moving to the opposite coast. Like I said, Santa Anita, race 10 coming at 7:30 Eastern time. 5 horses. Jason, kind of walk us through your thoughts.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, it's 5 horses. It's Baffert, and then journalism's a monster. And the more I think about it, like, it's a really interesting race because you have. Let's start with the 2 Bafferts, right? So we've got Citizen Bull, who's already in the Derby, right? But then he's got Barnes, who's also highly regarded, probably was his most highly regarded horse, who's not in the Derby yet, so needs either to finish first or second. Then you have, like I said, Journalism, who's probably the best horse in the race, probably the best horse in the country, best 3-year-old anyway. For McCarthy, he looks like a monster, but he's already in the Derby. So does he need his best race? Then you go to Sheriff's horse. He's got 2 horses. And one of them just like I think we had mentioned, looks just like a throw-in Westwood one. But Baeza looks like he's got some speed. He's got some talent. And he's he was a $1.2 million purchase. So, it's not like, he's a Parks horse. And he's got speed. So now, like, I was like, at first I was like, all right, I think Baffert's going to just let Barnes go to the lead, pull back Citizen Bull. And then if Journalism so happens to catch Barnes, and then at least Barnes gets second and gets in the Derby. But then I was like, well, if Baeza goes with Barnes, Baeza might cook Barnes up on the lead. So now does Baffert say, all right, I'd rather sacrifice? I think he's sacrificing Citizen Bull one way or the other because he wants Barnes to get in the race. So I kind of think now that he's going to make Citizen Bull go to the lead and have Baeza go with him. They both get tired out, and then have Barnes stalk along with Journalism. And again, if Journalism happens to win and Barnes gets second, that's fine. So I'm going to lean that way. I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to have Citizen Bull on the lead with Baeza, Barnes and Journalism closed. I still think Journalism's better than Barnes, so I'll go 1/4. Journalism to win with Barnes finish at second.
Yeah, I kind of see it different. I don't like to get too caught up in this horse has enough points. Does he need this? It's like he's gonna sack. I mean, Citizen Ball is FS Racing. It's like Starlet. It's Bradford's biggest clients. Like I just can't see him saying to these guys, "We're sacrificing your horse for this," like different things like that. So I think I'm gonna be naive, and I'm gonna handicap the race without a bunch of shit going on. Put it that way. And if you look at the race that Journalism Baeza came out of, and if we only have the buy figures. You look at buy figures. I mean, Journalism jumped from an 87 to a 108. Barnes jumps from a 93 to a 105. I don't know if that number is right. I mean, that number is way out of line with the normal progression of these 3-year-olds. And you can argue like a Baffert horse and Barnes, but Mike McCarthy's horse jumps from an 87 to a 108. Now maybe he's that good. But I start to question that race's speed figure. And I still think it's solid. I just don't think it's freakish, like 108-ish, etc. So I use that in the back of my head. Baeza, got the lead in a maiden special weight. So yeah, he has some speed. I just think he inherited the lead more so because Barrios isn't like the most aggressive early rider. And Baffert's horses usually are super aggressive. And if you look at Citizen Bull, he's coming now off his second start after, winning the Breeders' Cup, which his number came back a little bit better than that race. So he did show improvement as a 2-year-old. You look at the races where he gets the lead, he doesn't give them up. It was, the Rob Lewis, the Lewis, the Juvie, the American Pharaoh, and his first maiden special weight, he was real close, and he won. So I'm going to use that tactic. I think Citizen Bull gets the lead early, and I think when that horse gets the lead, he's hard to catch, and I think he's going to get a little loose because I don't think Barnes is going to go with him because there is still a little bit of that jockeying. And he's going to kind of sit off, and I think Barnes is going to make a legitimate run, but I do think I think Baffert finishes 1-2 in this race. So I got Citizen Bull the 2 over Barnes the 4. Chalky?
Yeah, that's my 1-2, and just to give a little more context around that, I agree. I think they'll go out, but they're not going to duel each other. Like, you're not going to see one of the two jocks ride like Cornucopian got ran last week in Arkansas. But to the this is one where we don't have the sheets, but I would like to see what those numbers came back on this. If you don't buy that 108 and 105 like Tommy was saying, then those numbers probably will end up matching up with Citizen Bull's best. If you do buy it, then that, especially the McCarthy horse, screams bounce. Is he going to have him cranked fully for this race, knowing because it run 2 big ones, and then is he going to be ready on the Derby? I don't know. So I'm going to say Journalism is a good horse, but McCarthy just may not have him like to win this race because he's in already. So, but if he's really that much, then sure he could win. But I'm going to go same order as Tommy, 2-4.
One thing I'll say about that was, and McCarthy, they interviewed him after the race. He was like, I did not have this horse cranked at all for this race, and he ran off the sheet. Just might be a really good horse. So we'll see. So he might not necessarily have him cranked up for this race. It might not matter.
If he's that much better, it might not matter.
Yeah, I mean, like Jason said, for 5 horses and like for having similar training, these races that it did come back pretty salty. And I mean, you could be seeing, Florida, you could have saw a Derby horse in their Florida Derby, and I think here you definitely could see a legitimate Derby contender in coming out of this race as well. All right. Let's move on to the Bluegrass. I'm assuming the PPs I have is accurate. It is race 10 on weekend, 5:52 Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. That is the most accurate. Yep. So Tuesday, 5:52 comes as race 10 at Keeneland. It's a nice it's another good field. I mean, 7 horses. You got mixture of speed. You got some closers. You got the horse that was favored in the Fountain of Youth. You got a horse that we actually picked in the Fountain of Youth. You got a brown horse that's been highly guarded, and you got the Breeders' Cup Juvenile favorite in this race, who did not run very well, but was the favorite in the Juvie. So it's a good race. I'll start with Chalky this time. Thoughts?
Yeah, so 7 horses, and your top 5 choices are all between 5-2 and 7-2 on the, 9-2 on the morning line. So they're all pretty much jumbled together there. I'm going against the second and third choices. So that's the 4 Owen Almighty. Got an easy lead in Tampa, is losing Irad in this race. I don't think he's going to get an easy lead, and I'm always a little skeptical of those Tampa races. And then East Avenue, you can excuse his Breeders' Cup because he stumbled, and last race he was, maybe not ready to go and ran out of gas on his first back, but I can't take him at 3-1 with his last 2 performances with his run line. So I will put the favorite on top, River Thames, who, wasn't a blazing race, but it was an honest pace and got caught at the end by Sovereignty in the aforementioned Fountain of Youth. Johnny V to Irad is a significant upgrade nowadays, so that's a plus in his favor. And it doesn't have to have the lead, can sit right off, and unless it stumbles out of the gate, is not going to let Owen Almighty get an easy lead coming out there. So that'll be my top pick. I would say number 3, Burnham Square for second. Beat Tappan Street 2 back, who did win the Florida Derby, as you were saying. Didn't really make any kind of move to gain ground last race out in the Fountain of Youth in that race where River Thames and Sovereignty finished ahead apart, but still has a little bit of room to improve. So I'll go with that second. And then for third, I would say the 6. Again, you're looking at this, it's like, can he run outside of New York? Is he really a 1-turn horse? Maybe, because his last 2 races are 2 turns and weren't quite as good. But Pratt and Brown, if I'm going against those other 2, then this is the next logical one, unless, obviously you're going to put a bomb in at the bottom of the try. So I would say 1, 3, 6.
Yeah, I wish I could be a little more clever. I see it very, very similar. Although, I mean, the move from JV to Iron, I think, is what kind of puts it over the top for me. And I know they mentioned that race came the lead was like not the pace, I guess. I mean, if you watch that race live, Johnny V was getting pushed pretty hard by I forget. Oh, I guess it was the IRAD horse at the time that finished third in the flood over.
Saffy's horse.
Yeah, Safi, who came back to finish third again. So a decent horse. So I thought he was pushed pretty hard. He won the war, or he won the battle, I guess is the term in that. And then Sovereignty, who's another good horse, just kind of caught him in the end. So I think River Thames is a very good horse. I think with the addition of IRAD, he gets the option. If he gets a flyer out of the gate from the 1, he can go. If he needs to sit off a little bit, he can sit off a little bit. And I think he's going to have that. He's going to make that first move, and he's going to force a Burnham Square or a Chancellor McPatrick to maybe catch him in the stretch, which I think Lexington is the shorter stretch too, right? Isn't that what they always say? So it could be a little more difficult. So I do have River Thames on top as well. However, I give Chancellor McPatrick a little more of a chance to win than I guess Chalky would have. So one thing is, and I don't discredit the 1-turn thing with that Chalky said. He does appear maybe he has a little more punch as a 1-turn, but I like the fact that he added blinkers last time. He was a little more involved early, and although he didn't have that crazy turn of foot close, he still had a nice kind of close and stay power, and agreed with where East Avenue and Almighty, I think, are going to be more fading at the end, where I think Chancellor Patrick is going to try to stay with teams, River Thames, when he makes that move. And does he have a little bit more because he is a better late runner than River Thames? He may. So, again, I'd give the nod to the 1, but I think Chancellor Patrick has a chance to maybe finish first. So I will have it 1-6 or 6-1. You kind of see the odds. River Thames probably going to be the favorite, but I don't know. I mean, Brown's won this race before as well, so I think he's going to get played, but 1-6. And then underneath, I mean, it could be a free-for-all, but Burnham Square would be my most likely for the third as well. But, it's third, so I'm not going to give you anything too clever there. But 1-6 for me, or 6-1. Jason?
Similar to Tommy. I see the 4, Owen Almighty, and the 5, East Avenue battling for the lead. I think River Thames is going to stalk. The 1 will sit off. I think your 2 closers are going to be 3, Burnham Square, and the 6, Chancellor McPatrick. And I'm going to go with the 6. I'm going to go with Chancellor McPatrick to win. I think Owen Almighty just got a great trip against him last time out. I think he was coming off a layoff. So, given that also, Chancellor in the Tampa Bay Derby. It was his first race off layoff. So, and I just think he's better. I'm not a big Burnham Square fan. I mean, he could get third or something, but I just think, if I'm looking for a closer that could possibly catch River Thames, it's going to be the 6, Chancellor McPatrick. So I'm just going to go 6/1. So your second, I guess.
Yeah. I just want a little bit of backup because I'm not. I think there's a chance that, to Chalky's point, that Chancellor McPatrick may just be better at 1 turn. So we may have seen the best of him. And although the best of him is still pretty good, we may not have seen the best of River Thames yet, which is going to be better, so there's a chance I could see him just being better, which is what scares me. So that's why I'm not committed to doing 6/1 solid and kind of want to play, that insurance 1-6, 6-1, etc. All right. 2 Derby preps. Hopefully, results are similar to the Florida Derby. We will actually, when do we broadcast? Oh, no, the Masters is probably Wednesday of next week.
Yeah, next Wednesday we'll do the Masters. Yep.
The next Wednesday, so we'll have both races, of course, but not right after. But yeah, next Wednesday is the Masters. Then a couple weeks, and then obviously the Derby. So this is it for the Derby preps, right? We're done the prep season.
This should be it for us.
So yeah, when the next time you hear the horse races, obviously we'll tell you a little bit about the results, but will be for the Derby. Next week is the Masters. I don't know. I don't got anything else. I don't know if the boys do.
No, sir.
Nope.
All right, and we are hearing for the Derby that there's a chance we will have our special guest back, and next week we should have a special guest as well as it is our golf show.
And then the usual fourth member of the podcast. Don't say anything about trivia contests.
I was going to say, let's
pay. But he should be back in a few weeks, so you never know. Maybe we'll have a trivia contest. I don't want to say it too loud in case anybody hears it, but maybe we'll have a trivia contest.
Trivia show. It may not be a contest for everybody, but
That's true.
So, like Chalky said, we need that third person to just kind of he's the sheriff's second horse. He just had to fill up the fire.
You feeling what ready set?
So
we're taking applications for that third participant slot. If anybody's interested, drop it off at Giovannina's your application.
Sure.
People pie while you're there. Tried the breast, don't try the back. All right, episode 151 of Broad Street. Let's have a great night. Go Phils.